Namo Shakyamuni Buddha. Please, Sangha and all practitioners. It is Saturday afternoon, January 3rd, 2026. We continue with the topic to keep a strong stance with the mind of practicing liberation. Grandmaster Hoàng Bá has a verse that I want to keep remind everyone. It is used a lot by many of us practitioners as a compass to encourage ourselves. Our patriots also use this verse to raise the thought of birth and death. The verse meaning to liberate from birth and death is an extraordinary task. We have to keep our strong stance. If we don't go through if the flower doesn't have to go through a harsh winter, there's no way it can bloom during spring. We tend to easily losing our stance. And only when we have the thought of birth and death, we will be able to truly practice the way the Buddha and the Patriarch intended for us. For the beginners or for any of us who are very far away from the time of the Buddha and the Patriarch, if we don't have the reminder and protection of the three jewels, it is difficult for us to walk continuously on the right path. Sometimes we assume we are practice right, but actually we just chasing after the attachment and ignorance, and that's why we have to learn and discuss every day, following the Dharma, in uh, like what the Buddha taught us to follow the Dharma, not the person, which is one of the four reliances that he teach us. Also, we base on the meaning of prajna to be able to raise the contemplation of prajna and to enter the stream instead of exit the stream. So each of us, some of us may be able to understand or say these principles easily, but when we practice, it's not that easy because we tend to get obstructed by our ignorance and attachment. That is the topic. And to save time, anyone have any question about the practice or want to share your experience, you can bring up your questions. Namo Shakyamuni Buddha. Namo Shakyamuni Buddha. Dear Sangha and all practitioners, you used to talk about the five worldly desires. Um, Money, sex, fame, eating and sleeping. Um, and you said that all of the other four desires are outside the body, while the sleeping is inside of our body, so it is difficult to treat. Also, you also teach us about um, um, to have just enough of the three common things. Um, these are very relevant to us, and when I make mistakes about these, I feel very ashamed because as a Zen practitioner, um, when I realize I make mistake that you pointed out, I felt like I was violating the precepts. Um, the other four desires, even though they are difficult, they still outside of us and still easier to treat than the one inside. I also, you once taught us, the Buddha said to win over thousands of enemies cannot compare to win over ourselves. Can you please give us um more feedback? I said when we talk about the five worldly desires, or we talk about the eight winds, the eight gusts of winds, we don't. It doesn't mean for us to always be looking out for it and try to remove it. It's not like that, but um, to remind us that our belief in the true mind is not strong enough, and to help us reflect on us uh, uh, when we are obstructed by those desires, and to figure out why do we keep falling into the trap of those desires. So that is to more talk about not believing in the true mind and not having a sincere thought of birth and death. Of like for the other issues, we cannot sleep, cannot eat because of them. But when it comes to practice, we keep um, falling asleep. So we need to reflect and make changes. This happened to everyone. Um, so can we win over ourselves? It boils down to your practice. Um, the Buddha also experienced these five worldly desires and all of those karmic habits and ignorance, and he talked about all of those in his scriptures, giving examples of all the states that the Zen practitioners can fall into. We read about all of that, we listen to all of that and understand them, but still not be able to put it into practice. So we have to reflect on ourselves, not to blame on anyone else. The Buddha always taught us to have just enough of the three common things, that is eating, uh, clothing, and sleeping. We need to um, keep it in standard, not to indulging too much in them, because it's very subtle. But if we keep indulging ourselves in those, um, it can lead to a lot of issues later. But if we are diligent on the practice, then we automatically forget about those things or not to attach to those things because the desires correlate with the ignorance. The more we indulge in the desires, the more ignorant we become. Um, our practice, we have to always rely on the temple, the wise teachers, and the Dharma. Like the Buddha said, the place that has the Dharma, even if there are a lot of um, um, hardships, there are a lot of lacking of food, of clothes. But if that place has the Dharma, we still need to try to stay there to learn the Dharma, to lead us um, onto the path. Better than that is the place that has all kind of convenience, very comfortable. We have to be very cautious because those are poisons that can pile up more ignorance on us, lead us more into darkness. So in those places, even if they keep us, we still have to leave. And the place that there are not there is no dharma and not even convenient, then of course we don't stay there. Uh, but the place where there are both dharma and convenience, we will stay there. And even the one that have the dharma, even if it's difficult um place to live, we still have to try to stay there. But for people with low capacity, they are fearful of those inconvenience, and they just follow their consciousness instead of direct their mind toward liberation. They only have the mind of liberation for a short period of time at the beginning, but later on losing that mindset. And that's why we say their stance is weak and not strong. And that's why our patriarch always remind us. So sleeping is not the only obstacle. It's the most difficult of the five desires. Money, sex, fame, eating are the desires outside of the body. We can use the rules and precepts to manage those, but the sleeping is more difficult. Some people said sleeping doesn't mean violating the precepts, but the more we sleep, it will clutter the mind more. Uh, Sometimes we sit there, but our mind keep closing without control, and then our body want to find a place to lay down. But if we stay within the Sangha and if we have a schedule, we still have to try to stay there. But sometimes, even with the schedule, we cannot overcome the sleepiness. And that's why we don't let people lean on the wall when they sit in the temple. So that is something we have to find a way to overcome. Some people try to drink coffee or tea or eat candy, but they still fall asleep. Some people say I never sleep, but when they practice um, for a while and get used to it. And they get more used to sitting. They start falling asleep again. So uh, we have to find a way to um, overcome that, like eating and sleeping at the right time. Um, but if we have the serious start of birth and death, then awake or sleeping is not an issue anymore. That is something we have to overcome, and we can rely on the external force like the temple, the Dharma friends, wise teachers to remind us. But if people don't remind us, even if we stay in the temple and we don't listen to the reminder, eventually it's just like we're staying at home and it's not useful. So sometimes, even though uh it's such a bother to remind people, we still need to appreciate the reminders. I understand. Thank you, thầy. Dear thầy, dear singer, dear everyone, can you talk more about uh, the top of the 100 pole? We make an extra step. Is it that does it mean that even if we already understand or attain something, we still cannot attach to those? Or when there is a saying say that even the right dharma, we have to let go, let alone the worldly dharma. Can you please explain further? The saying that um the right dharma, we still have to let go, let alone um the non-dharma. Um, that is a just a principle to talk about non-duality and to talk about belief in the true mind. Uh, because people, when they don't have a principle to practice, they tend to just accumulate their knowledge. They want to hear, they want to learn, but if they don't practice, then what they learn or what they hear cannot really help them. When they face situation, they will start generating attachment, like the story of Master Ananda. He has a special talent that he can understand anything he listen once, um, and can remember everything. He is the helper of the Buddha. So when the Buddha go um, teaching the Dharma anywhere, um, it always have to go through Master Ananda so that he can um, record everything with his mind. But because he doesn't have the practice, that's why he got lured by Madangya and almost lost his um, pure body. And when he was helped to uh, return back to consciousness, he um, come back to the Buddha and cry. Uh, In the story, it said he quickly collect his clothes and return to the temple. So, even though he remember the teachings of the Buddha, he doesn't have the samadhi. So Master Ananda, only when people request for him, then he go. If they don't request for him, he will not go. Um, so when everyone went for the teaching of the Buddha at um a disciple's place, Master Ananda didn't go. And when he go begging for food, he remember the Buddha's teaching. He contemplate the teachings in the scriptures. He didn't think about any worldly things. He keep contemplating the teachings of the Buddha, and he think that Mahakassapa um, prefer to beg food from the poor family, to help the poor family generate blessing, while Master Subhuti prefers begging from the rich family, because he think the rich family have enough to give away, while the poor family don't have enough. So Master Subhuti um, attached to the rich family. Uh, it's not about discriminating be, uh, between rich over poor. It's just because he thinks for the poor family as well. But the Buddha still um, scolded both of the patriots. So Master Ananda keep thinking about that and told himself that he need to be non-discriminatory when he begged for food, but he still got lured by Madanya. And the Buddha said, doesn't matter how much you learn, without the practice, it won't help you to liberate. Uh, Study without practice doesn't help at all. To learn is to help us to increase the belief in the true mind, to end attachment. If we just learn to nourish the knowledge, it just generate more attachment. Um, Also, there is a lot of school that um, prioritize studying. It says without studying, then we don't know which path to go. They always assume that we need to have the knowledge in order to know where to go. But if we see in reality, some people old practitioners, cannot even remember all of the um all of the verse. How can they use the knowledge to liberate? When we get older, all the brain cells will become aging. It won't be able, the brain will not as sharp and will not be able to retain as much memories. Some people will become just like a kid, and if they unfortunately has Alzheimer or get stroke, then they will not be able to even retain any of those knowledge. Then how can we use the knowledge to practice? We cannot use that as the means to liberate. The means to liberate is the practice. If we have the thought of birth and death, if we raise the mind to practice, to liberate from the suffering of birth and death, then gradually we will be able to um, absorb the Dharma. And that will push us to learn um, lives after lives until we attain Buddhahood. So for us, if we have not experienced sickness or aging or death, we should now practice because our understanding tend to be the standing of sickness. It's not aligned with reality. That's why the Buddha said the knowledge is the knowledge of sickness from the time without beginning. So we shouldn't believe in that. We should believe in the true mind. And believe in the true mind means we have to always learn and practice. So our practice, we don't want to attach to the doubt or the question because we are doing the Dharma of non-duality, non-attachment. We have to do it the right way, and we have to learn to make sure we are not making mistake. So when we talk about the head of the 100-meter pole, it's just an example, an illustration to help us understand, or an illustration to talk about an experience. But we have to practice. When we practice and we go through all of those stages, then the illustration will become clear. Right now, if we are not clear, we just need to practice. The principle is to strengthen the belief in the true mind and the practice, the experience. Um, the practice is our own experience. So the doubt is the walking, the doubt is the investigating, the looking, the keeping in mind. Uh, when we keep walking, meaning keeping the doubt without um, without us having to purposely intend for it to be that way, then that is the good practice. Just like right now, our illusory thought keep coming up, whether we want or not, and those thoughts make us generate different feelings and eventually lead to sickness. So for our practice, just return to doing the meditation.
nghĩ tiếng động nhưng bất sanh. Như vậy như thị tiện tăng như vậy tiếp tục đi á, rồi tới văn với năng văn với sở văn, tức là năng sở của nghe, nói là năng sở của tâm á, tặng
Um,
rồi tiếp tục
so when we are
rồi.
able to
Nhưng mà
um,
buông á, còn có đắc trên cái buông đó, đó
end the
tiếp tục
subject and object,
thì nó mới cái
um,
tiểu ngộ thôi, chứng quả a la hán là
meaning we are able to let
phải
go,
quét luôn á,
then we will
quét sạch
attain
luôn, quét được
the
thì mới
small enlightenment.
nhắc lại cái lời của thiện tri thức của tổ sư. À, thì cũng y như trên cái kinh Đại Thừa Biểu Nghĩa mà Đức Phật ví dụ rồi đó, cho nó khác á. Qua kinh nghiệm tu tập nữa thì tổ sư thiện tri thức đưa ra cái phương tiện rõ ràng, nhưng mà nó phải hành chứ không phải là hiểu
The
một cách
patriarch just give out the um,
sơ sơ
skillful means to
giống
help
như ví
us,
dụ.
but we need to practice.
Đây là
Our lay
ví dụ
master
như
Wei
ví
has an
dụ
example.
giống như là ông viết,
Um,
ông viết
like we never
mình
seen
chưa từng gặp mặt,
such
nhưng
person.
mà
For
mình
example,
nghe
Mr.
tên
Wang.
là người đàn ông
Um,
cao
Mr. Wang. We never met Mr. Wang
giống như
before.
là
So if we
mình gặp một
describe
ngày thiên thần
how
rồi
does Mr.
một ngày
Wang
mình
look
chưa
like?
từng
How does
gặp
his
gỡ
eye,
nhau,
his
tất
nose
cả cái đó là
look
do
like? How does
biết
he,
xưa rồi thì
how, what clothes he
nhiều
wear
khi
and
ông
stuff?
không nhận ra nữa.
Even if we assume that we already know
Khi nào
who
mà
he
phải
is,
dẫn ra
when we
ngoài á,
actually see him in real life, we're still not able to recognize
thì lúc
him.
đó mình thấy
So the
cái sắc
best
của
way
ông
is for
đang
you to meet him in person,
hiện diện đó, mình biết ông mặc cái gì, bận cái gì,
then
nói cái
we will
gì,
know who he really is.
thì cần là phải đích
So
thân
what we need
tức là tận một sở thị á,
is
tức là
to
người
be
thấy
able
á, người
to
thấy á,
see it with our own
người
eyes,
đón mò, không
not
phải là
just
nghe
to
kinh nghiệm.
listen to the
Thì
illustration.
cái lời diễn tả là kinh nghiệm thôi, mình
The
phải
description is just an experience. We have to
là chứng được,
witness
chứng được
witness it
thì mới được.
ourselves.
Đó gọi là cái chứng đó, nghĩa đó. Nhưng mà đó là cái ví dụ thôi, phải có sự công phu tu tập
That
kỹ
is
rồi
just
chứng được.
an example. We need to have the practice, just like we drink water,
Thì
hot or
cái
cold, only
tâm
we will
nó
know.
tiến thêm một bước, gọi là cái sát na lìa ý thức. Nói là sát na lìa ý thức,
So
một
that
cái
area
cái
is
việc
to talk about a moment where we
muốn ngộ thiền định
completely
á,
away from the
thì lúc
consciousness.
đầu xào trăm thước, bây giờ mình
Right
có
now, we
thì phải luyện
still
tập
not
để
be
đạt được cái
away
đó,
from the tail of the words yet.
không tìm được cái đó, cho nên
So
luôn luôn thực
we
hành.
cannot
Nói vậy có hiểu
see
không?
what Hoa Thou is. Therefore, we have to continue to practice.
Mai tâm.
Namo Sakyamuni Buddha, dear Thầy, dear Sangha, and everyone. The topic about having a strong stance today. I have a question um, to clarify. My understanding is we need to keep a method to practice. We put our faith, our belief in thầy, in the patriot, and we focus on that to practice and not to worry about other things. For example, I don't pay attention to other different methods. I only keep one mind to practice. But there is a friend that told me we should not idolize uh, one thing. Then I start reflecting. Um, I actually do not idolize. I just want to choose a path and commit to that path, not to idolize. And there's a person also told me that that he or she doesn't have the belief in the teacher. I'm not sure if it's right or wrong. I think as long as I choose this path, I should um, walk on it confidently. Um, like commit to the path. Can you please give me some advice? Thank you, thầy.
Cái lập trường của chúng ta.
When we talk about our stance of practicing liberation,
Cái tu tập giải thoát là như thế nào á? Nói hai cái điều kiện chính
what
là cái
is
tin từ tâm,
practice liberation?
đó là
That
tin
is
vào
to
cái pháp
believe
hiện
in the true mind and to raise a
phía
doubt.
trên đó.
So
Tức
we
là mình đang
just need to
là xuyên suốt duyên nhất,
keep
phải làm
doing
hết tất
those
cả là
things.
đầy đủ rồi, vậy là yên tâm về nhà đóng cửa cái là lo tu luôn.
But when we say that, it doesn't mean that, oh,
Tin từ tâm
we
nói
just need
là
those
giải
two
thoát
and we'll go home and
không phải đơn giản như vậy.
practice it ourselves. It's not
Nó
that
trải qua vô
simple.
số kiếp để luôn luôn á,
Like
tiến
the
hóa
Buddha had to go
để
through
luôn
many,
luôn
many
tiếp
lives
tục
to
đắc đạo.
strengthen his belief in the true mind,
Xuyên suốt
to
từ kiếp đầu
strengthen his body mind.
sơ phát hiện tâm cho đến cái kiếp cuối là Maya ứng mộng.
It took it took countless lives from the first time when he raised the body
Rồi
mind
có một
to
ngày đi
when
về để đầu cái thai tử
his
là
last
cái
life
kiếp cuối
when
trở thành
his mom
thì cái kiếp trải qua vô số
Maya
kiếp luôn
uh,
tu
queen
cho nên
dream
không phải
about
đơn giản như vậy.
um
Nhưng mà đó là do cái bắt đầu của con
about
đường
him.
từ cái tầm đạo á, con đường giải thoát mà Đức Phật đã tìm ra cái phương pháp giải thoát, con đường giải thoát thì mình đã đốt giận
So
mình
for
từ
us,
lần
we
đầu
already
đến một kiếp tập khí chung sanh mình vẫn
shorten the time a lot
tin từ
because
tâm
the Buddha already
nó là như
spent a
vậy.
lot of time find out
Rất dễ bị
a way
cái
to practice and teach us.
chuyện vô minh đó, nó gạt nó nát tâm học của mình.
But we still very easily be tricked by our ignorance. Therefore,
Để mà
we rely on the temple,
ý thức
the three
mình
jewels to help us
trên temple
not be
nên nói là
fooled by
cái
our
điều kiện là
consciousness.
mình đang củng cố hai vấn đề căn bản
So for us,
và học
we strengthen the
hỗ
two
trợ cho
basic
tốt cái
things:
chủ nghĩa hiện
believe
tại.
in the true mind and raise the doubt.
Nếu mình có tin từ tâm á, người ta có nói mình
If we
có
truly believe
tu
in the
quá
true
thì
mind,
tốt,
even if
tại vì theo mình thấy cái gì
they
tự
they
nhiên
say,
nó
oh,
tự
don't
nhiên thành công.
idolize one thing,
Rồi một là thần tự quá, hai là học quá,
like either
thiền tri thức
too
quá.
idolizing or
Hai cái
not
hết vậy đó,
believe in the wise teachers.
cái gì họ cũng nói
You
là
know,
cao thì chê là
people
thấp,
can always
thấp
have
thì
something
chê
to
là mập,
say,
mập thì chê là lùn, mập thì chê
uh,
là béo, gầy thì chê là
whether
gòn.
whether it's too tall, too short,
Ngoài ra
too
mà họ
too
chê cái gì nữa đó mà mình mất cái gì
too
mình cũng
fat,
được
too
ảnh hưởng.
skinny.
Cho nên cái lập trường của mình
They
nó
can
không bao giờ
always have
vô độ phân
something
biệt,
to say,
lập trường mình
but
không bao giờ vô
our
độ phân biệt.
stance is
Mà nếu vô độ phân biệt là mình
non-attachment,
định
non-discrimination,
nói tụi nói
and
gì
that
nói
is to
nói
believe
khùng
in the true mind and raise a
tin là
doubt.
vừa tu tập vừa
Doesn't
nói
matter what they say,
giờ
it
nói vừa
will
nói
not
nói vừa nói
affect
thôi
us.
tu mà tu vừa dữ kìa tu tà tà đi. Vừa tu vừa nghĩ vừa tu vừa
Like
nghĩ
when
thôi
we
chứ tu nhưng
practice
mà không
too
đủ dữ
too
dằn.
diligently, then
Còn
someone will
cái
say,
lập
"Oh,
trường nó
why you work
biết
too hard?
phải
Take it easy,
mình
practice and
tu mà kiên
relax."
trì,
And then
mình không cần biết
when we
có cái
not practicing enough, someone will say, "Oh, why you
cái
so
tâm của mình á,
uh
mình tham học á,
procrastinating? You should
đúng
practice
hay
harder."
không có theo cái ý mình á, cho là đúng hay cho là đúng hay cho là bất kỳ cái gì
So
theo cái ý
don't
của
make
mình.
any assumption.
Thì
Just
trên cái sự tham học á,
learn and ask
cái quán á,
questions
trên cái đó nó giải quyết được cái vấn đề
to help resolve
cho
the
nên
issues
cái
um,
chỗ
in our mind,
thì lúc
to
đó
help uh,
tin từ tâm mình nó càng
correct
vững hơn
the mistake,
và trong
and to
thiền á
help
nó càng sâu sắc
strengthen the belief and
chứ không có chuyện là
improve our
thế
practice.
ngày mai ta
Because
nói như thế kia,
today they say one
ngày
thing,
ta đụng
tomorrow
cái
they
gì
say another thing.
5 năm ta đụng cái chuyện
This
khác,
year they have this
cái mình
issue,
cứ chạy theo
next year they have
cái
another
gì đó
issue.
mà
If
thì
we
mình
keep
sẽ bị
follow the
bị dính
external
thì không đỡ
conditions,
nổi, đụng một cái mạnh thiệt mạnh như vậy
uh,
mình
we
chạy theo
will
cái gì đó.
always
Cho nên nó là
bump into different
hiểu cho
things.
cái tập khí của mình vô minh của mình á. Bây giờ nếu mà cái lập trường mình nó vững á,
So if our
thì lúc
stance
nào
is strong enough, doesn't matter what bump into
mình có
us,
được cái tâm
it
của
won't affect us,
con đường
and
giải thoát.
we never put down our
Đó là
mind
lập trường.
of liberate practice.
Cái lập trường không phải là
sing liberation. The stance is not stubbornness.
cái lập trường mà giống như tổ Hoàng Bá nói vậy đó.
It is the
Lập
stance is like Master Hoàng Bá said,
lý thường việc
uh,
việc giải thoát đó,
liberation
cái lập
is
trình đó để mà mình đi tới,
extraordinary
chứ không phải là vì cái gì
task,
khác hơn cái
and
khác.
we need to keep a strong stance
Thầy nói vậy nghe hiểu
to
không?
walk confidently. Uh, I understand. Thank you, Thầy.
Bây giờ
The
thầy
time is up.
thỉnh trả lời
Goodbye, everyone.
cho cô và bạn.
Namo Shakyamuni Buddha.